Chapter 7 Qualitative Research Methods. This chapter reviews the following elements: the underlying principles of naturalistic work, ethical concerns, data gathering techniques, data analysis tools and methods, developed and grounded theory ensuring analytic integrity, and the presentation of findings. Naturalism as a research paradigm. Naturalism is an approach that poses reality as a holistic, based in the perception of individuals and communities and continually changing. Theory formation requires an organic, continuous process designed to understand phenomena rather than to test hypotheses. The research goal centers on understanding, discovering, and explaining rather than on predicting or testing. Naturalism in LIS research. The naturalistic paradigm only recently has been accepted in the applied or professional schools. Resultant theories such as Mellon's library anxiety, 17, and Major Studies 18 have opened the doors for qualitative work in LIS 19 to such an extent that the critical focus is on the quality. In LIS, qualitative research is usually most useful when the information intensive concerns are so new, so complex, or so unexplored that researchers are working. Role of mixed or multi-method research. A mixed methods or multi-methods approach, in some cases, provides the necessary array of data. 24. The mixed methods approach posits as a false dichotomy the absolute, forced choice of either qualitative or quantitative methods. 4 Basic Principles Guide. Mixed Method Design. 1. Determine and adhere to the theoretical impetus underpinning the project. 2. Work to account for the impact of the method that is brought into the primary methodological thrust. 3. Drive the design decisions from the assumptions of the base method. 4. Employ only the essential datasets. Ethical concerns. Ethical concerns demand careful attention. Naturalistic settings compound the usual issues of participant confidentiality and harmless involvement. Participant confidentiality, rather than participant anonymity, generally dominates in qualitative research. The face-to-face involvement of interviews, general observation, focus groups, and participant observation preclude any pretense of participant anonymity. The consent form that many participants must sign should spell out the mechanisms by which that confidentiality will be protected and the extent to which it will be breached. Data gathering techniques. The act of gathering data for a qualitative study is an evolving process rooted in ongoing analysis. It involves more than obtaining discrete units of information. Simply holding a preset number of interviews, for example, does not constitute meaningful data gathering. Initial interviews might well, for example, spark a tentative point of analysis that would then be fed back into the interview protocol. Sampling. No single formula provides the correct sample size for a qualitative study. The depth, complexity, and richness of the data are critical, but identifying a representative sample is not even a consideration since the purpose of their search is to understand, not to generalize. The 2 criteria for determining the right number of interview participants. First, sufficiency refers to the effort to include all the subpopulations involved. Researchers should include 2 or more participants in demographic categories, contextual subgroups, and locations. Saturation refers to the point at which the critical elements of the study have become saturated, that is, until further exemplars fail to add new nuance or to contradict what is understood. In LIS research, the following methods may be most useful. 1. Maximum variety sampling. This method seeks as heterogeneous a sample as possible and is useful when seeking to identify patterns and commonalities that exist across otherwise divergent individuals. 2. Extreme case sampling. This method selects participants who appear to exemplify characteristics of interest in order to clarify the critical issues in an area. 3. Intensity sampling. This technique identifies participants who have a great deal of experience rather than an extreme experience with a phenomenon. 4. Snowball sampling. This method identifies participants who are linked, through shared experiences, perspectives, or other factors. Participants point the researcher towards other individuals in the same population. For much LIS research, the setting varies along the following four continua. 1. Number of participants. 2. Public versus private. 3. Size of the observable actions. 4. Staff or public. Interview. In all their variety, interviews are a valuable qualitative method for researchers who make effective choices. The structured interview is the mode of choice when the interviewer knows what he or she does not know and can therefore frame appropriate questions to find it out, while the unstructured interview is the mode of choice when the interviewer does not know what he or she doesn't know and must therefore rely on the respondent to tell him or her. Types of probe questions. 1. Continuation follows up on the same participant to elicit more details. 2. Elaboration solicit further analysis or explanation of a specific point. 3. Clarification used to clear up the interviewer's own understanding of the participant's comments. 4. Steering probes. These are designed to move the interview back into the areas of interest or away from areas that are being avoided. 5. Sequence probes. These are designed to elicit explanations of how phenomena progress in a step-by-step or staged fashion. 6. Evidence probes ask people to explain the basis for their viewpoints, opinions, or beliefs. 7. Slant probes seek to identify, often indirectly, the participant's bias, perspective, worldview, or mental model of a phenomenon, group, or situation. Documents, questionnaires, diaries, journals, papers, and more. Questionnaires vary by means of delivery in person, telephone, mail, email, and point of contact and format open-ended questions, attitudinalscales, multiple choice questions, ratings, and rankings. This is perhaps the most thoroughly studied form of data gathering. Data analysis tools and methods. Discourse analysis. It is developed by Michel Foucault, has the capacity to track historically the origins of and challenges to mainstream ideas, and to illustrate marginalized ideas through an open, conceptualized process of discovery that centers on analysis of power dynamics. Content analysis uses a set of procedures to make valid inferences from text. These inferences are about the sender of the message itself, or the audience of the message. Content analysis is based on the premise that the many words. The constant comparative method of content analysis. The constant comparative method, codified by Glaser and Strauss, 122, is generally recognized as one of the most effective means of qualitative content analysis. It involves joint coding and analysis during the continual review of data to gradually form categories. Coding lies at the heart of the constant comparative method in that units of data are compared to each other in terms of their fit into the developing coding scheme. Coding does not descriptively paraphrase the interview or observation notes. Instead, it identifies the main categories as well as associated subcategories so that, eventually, all units of data can be organized according to thesis. Developing grounded theory. Originated by Glaser and Strauss in 1967, grounded theory is both a method of developing theory and a category of theory, namely that which develops from this method. Crossing most developments of and variations on grounded theory is the originator's premise that explanatory, if not predictive, theory can be constructed through systematic, deliberate iterations of data gathering, data analysis, and mid-level theory generation. There are 5 points specific to the presentation of qualitative research findings. First, in almost any forum it may be necessary to explain the concepts behind naturalistic methods. Second, qualitative research requires great detail and explication of both data gathering and data analysis. Third, one ethic of particular value to qualitative research requires their searcher to make some return to the community. Fourth, in almost every case, researchers must make active, careful decisions about giving voice to the participant. Finally, if research is simply to help us understand the world, then the act of scholars publishing solely for other scholars in the same field makes a modest contribution to that goal.